What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the Onyx Report, Black Masculinist news for the day. Yeah, this is my long day, y'all. I've been sitting in this chair teaching since 9:30 this morning, so brother is a little tired, so I had to call in for some help. And to his name, the brother has always shown through, so it's much appreciated. But before I bring him in and get this started, like, share, subscribe, join, and donate. Support the channel if you will, so we can continue to bring you independent black male thought. Let me see. You can go ahead and do so in a lot of different ways. Let me get this up here. There we go. You can support through, Cash App, as you can see on the screen. You can go ahead and support through PayPal, Venmo, or through YouTube itself. You can also support on Patreon, where you can support the Onyx Report here on YouTube. You can also support the Institute for Black Male Studies, or you can support the Onyx Network. So we're getting it in, trying to cover all bases. If you haven't tried it yet, you can download the Onyx Network on your iPhone or your Android. Go to the App Store and just put in the Onyx Network, or you can go to Amazon Fire TV or Roku, download it there 24 hours a day. We're putting this information in, trying to get it out there, spread so people can check it out. So I hope you guys will continue to support. Shout out to those of you who've done so early. And first, let me just say thanks for the folks coming through already. So we got KT in the house. What's going on? Keep It 100. What's up, man? Y'all go ahead and support Keep It 100's channel, especially check out some of his new merchandise, Uppity Negro swag. Get a brother some support. Shout out to Malika. What's going on? Spain man, what's happening? Let's see. Got a number of ghetto user in the house. What's up? Dardar. Appreciate the support, Dardar. Shout out to you. Shout out to Heyru for the support as well. Brother Malika, appreciate that support. So salutations to you, Dr. T, in the chat. That's right. Brother Barry in here. Appreciate that support, sir. Shocks 112. Appreciate the link to the paper as well as the early support for the show. Also, shout out to Dark Power. Appreciate that support on the Cash App. It's much appreciated. Dr. Smith in the house. What's going on? Had to shout you out. Ain't seen you in a minute. Hope you're well. Glad to have caught you in San Diego. So hope you're well. Shout out to Nameless Protagonists. Y'all support the Green Gorilla channel. Nameless was just on there earlier. And they had a brilliant conversation. So y'all should check that out. So make sure you do all of that so we can all stay in tune with what's going on. But without any further ado, shout out to Benjamin on the Cash App. Much appreciated. Let me go ahead and bring in the good brother BGS. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Doc?
How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. It's a busy week.
Oh, man, crazy busy. How does it? I got to start with this.
Okay.
Because you were one of the first to get political in this space. I mean, I think early on, few people thought of the manosphere as a space to deal with politics.
Yes.
I mean, you came up here talking about global politics. You up here talking about Africa and China, and I'm like, wow, okay. But now you're seeing, politics being regularly referenced in this space, and now we're starting to see, and we're going to see this a little later. We're starting to see it being referenced by those who aren't even affiliated with the space. So, what are your thoughts about, the relationship between politics and the manosphere?
Okay, because the thing is that because I had previously done this as far as global politics is concerned in the continent of Africa, because me and our group actually that's what we focused on, right? And what we learned is if you change people's worldview and connect the policies that their leaders and the people that manage the society put in place, how it affects their daily lives on the ground. If you can connect those two, people will actually see politics as a way of changing their lives, and they see the connection between politics, policy, and the things that affect them: jobs, family, laws, with commerce, how they travel. All this stuff is connected to policy. How do you get people together and organize people to actually do things in an organized society? Okay, that's all policy. Okay, and all politics is people going together and actually formulating policy. So my thing was, if I could show change the regular guy on the street's worldview, or even some of the academics' worldview. Okay, this is this is where it starts. It doesn't start on the ground with your woman and whatnot. It always starts at policy. Okay,
Hmm.
and then it works its way down. People think it goes the other way. It starts from the ground, the grassroots, and works its way up. Normally, and you as an academic knows it starts at the top and it works, it filters its way down as more people adopt it. So, and so I had to change the worldview. When now, we're connecting um, their daily lives and policies that may be 30 years old, 20 years old, right?
Hmm.
How does that policy affect what they do right now? Affect their family, affect how the woman does them, affect how who gets the child. All that stuff is policy.
Right.
All things we complain about is nothing but policy. So, and
Absolutely.
policy is politics.
Yeah. And it actually shapes the behavior that many of us are complaining about.
It does. It does. How you teach your kids. Okay, we complain about how the worldview of the children, right? That is shaped not only in partially by the parents, but mainly by the school system. The
Right.
school system, and then the media system that feeds these children. That's what shapes their worldview. And
Yeah.
and sometimes we think that the parents have all this power, and to us, in a sense, they do. But the thing is, even the parents are shaped by the policies that happened to them when they were children. So it's a
Mhm.
continuous cycle.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's hard
Absolutely.
to get people to see it until they do, which is uh, which is why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me shout out, because it looks like we got a lot of people waiting to hear this one. Shout out to Devo69 for the super sticker. Much appreciated.
Hmm.
Shout out to brother Adrian. Adrian in the house. The super chats beat super packs.
Well, yeah, yeah, and please contribute, because a lot of people have been asking me over the past month to really uh, go a little deeper into the politics of the policy part, because they think I have a unique perspective on it,
Mhm.
and most sometimes I do, but this particular administration, they're really particular
Right.
about what you say. I mean, more than probably any other. Uh, Got an administration that I've seen. So when it's necessary, I speak, but most times Doc knows that I talk about this in the background all the time. But the thing is, I don't. I may talk about maybe 10, maybe 15% of what I talk about in the background. So so
Mm.
so 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 please contribute, because this is something you guys wanted to know, what you've been waiting for. And this, I wanted to say this before we even get started, right? Okay. I was just telling Doc, I think I have gotten the manosphere as far as I think I can take it, right? You guys are actually on the edge of actually shaping policy, which is really what you really wanted from the very beginning. From 1.0, when I actually started actually having a voice and arguing with women, to gaming up guys and teaching them and changing their worldview. And this is the precipice of where you want to be, because the first thing we complain about is two things, right? How to make money and how to shape policy. So, the money part they've been talking about forever, but this is probably the one of the most important parts about having political power, which is
Yeah.
something that you guys always talk about wanting to have, and you're right on the precipice of having it. So, shout
Well,
outs to the management people that actually endured, and shout out to our PhDs, because without them, none of this would have been possible. I do mean none of it. So, kudos to them.
let me shout out to Officer Faulkner in the building. So y'all check out his Black Line security team. Security.
Our officer of the goddamn law.
Yeah. But also he runs Black Line Security. So
Black
check
Site
him
Security.
out. Support his
Hmm.
channel. Shout out to the Green Gorilla in the house. He's in the chat as well. If you haven't checked his broadcast today, please make sure you do so and
Hmm.
go back check some of his archive. Support the brother. Shout
Yeah,
out to MLR shooting in the super chat. Support my black male scholars as always. Appreciate it.
appreciate you.
Shout out to Levia for the super sticker. I think I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize. And on the Cash App end of things, shout out to Green Company. Shout out to Lewis. Shout out to Mr. C. Um, and Green Co. for the generous submission. Shout out to Quentin. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Benjamin. Yeah, it's yeah. This is a big one. People want to delve into this one, so we're going to get started. But
Okay.
I'm putting the link in the chat for the 15-point blackmail political agenda,
Hmm.
because we're gonna jump into that very quickly before we transition. But another question, real quick: what
Hmm.
do you say to people that say, "Well, it's not politics unless you got the president on speed dial, and the president needs to, if he's not going to put through everything you want right now, it doesn't matter. Why are we talking about this on YouTube, on manosphere? It's not really politics until politicians green stamp whatever you want them to green stamp. What do you say about that?
Usually, the president actually gets the president's signature is actually last.
Mhm.
That's the final step when it actually has the enforcement alarm. But if you don't go through the other steps, you'll never get to the president. So you can walk it right up to the White House gates. He's going to direct you back down to the people's house, because that's where it needs to get started. Because without them, there's nothing that he can do.
Mhm.
He enforces the policy. He doesn't make the policy.
Mhm.
If he doesn't have the backing of Congress, the Senate, and the House, there's nothing he can do with it. And the thing is, first, before you do anything, you have to have a demand. Okay, got to have a demand, and you got
Mhm.
to have a cogent policy, a cogent idea to actually bring to your representatives, because your president he's your president, he's your overseer, for lack of a better term. Your congressmen and your senators are actually representatives. You got to take it to them first, because those are the ones that you directly elect. Okay, so walking to the president, that's the last step. Okay, you can't leap over everything else before you take the steps. You got to you got to move the rock 1 inch. Okay, we're not the Hulk. We can't throw the rock into space. All right, we're just human
Mhm.
beings. All we can do is move our rock 1 inch at a time. And you got
Right.
to remember, feminism. The people think feminism really started in the 70s, right? No, it started 170 years before that. Okay, and
Mhm.
all the women did was move that little rock 1 inch at a time till they got to where they needed to go.
Yeah, it snowballs.
It snowballs. Okay, yeah. So we've actually gotten, for the black manosphere, right? For the black male independence, we're still in our infancy. We've
Mhm.
actually taken advantage of social media. We've actually gotten things done faster than most people could think was possible,
Mhm.
because we've taken advantage. Most people are still working on 19th and 20th century ideas. Okay, we've embraced the 21st century, which is the reason we're actually get to where we're at right now as far as influence, faster than people think. That's like when we're catching a lot of people off guard.
Oh yeah, I've been getting, now this is for the last 2.5 years. I've been getting brothers reaching out to me from South Africa to China. I mean, Japan,
Hmm.
shit, London, Australia, the Caribbean, and of
Hmm.
course all over the U.S. Now, if you got that kind of reach, and I'm not particularly special in that regard, a lot of YouTubers can tell you that people from all around the world are listening.
Oh yeah.
This is a unique period where you can do that as long as you own a smartphone,
Hmm.
and you can get a free YouTube account. You can be heard around the world. That is an
Hmm.
unprecedented
Hmm.
opportunity, and if you can actually maximize that politically, you're doing something.
Yeah.
So this is on the move. And
Yeah.
just because we have a list, if it's not implemented by midnight tonight, does not make it irrelevant. It's part of the ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
grassroots built
Yeah.
set of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And the black male political agenda, because we can actually tell, you know, Doc was actually disappointed, because this was like a 2-year-old agenda. He thought it should have been implemented or actually pushed, like during the presidential cycle of 2 years ago. And he kept telling me, he said, man, I don't think the brothers are hearing this, man. I don't think they want this. I said, Doc, it's not time. We
Mm,
don't have no momentum behind it. It's not time. I said, when I said, but you need to work on it, so then when it is time, it's ready. And thank God, Doc. Doc didn't take it down. He kept working on it. He kept chipping away at it. And lo and behold, 2 years later, okay, it was needed, and it was ready, and that shocked a
wow.
lot of people. It really shocked a lot of people. Okay, what do you got? What do black men really want? And you guys really don't have nothing. You don't have a manifesto, no kind of writing. Says, oh, here's a link. Go look at it. And they're stunned,
Well,
because it's very well done. It's very well articulated, and it's actually logically appointed. It's something that most people didn't think could happen. They think it happened in a very short period of time, but no, it's been over a long period of time. But people are just now waking up to it, because now it's time for it to emerge. Go ahead, Doc.
and I think that we got to keep in mind the brothers wrote this. In
Hmm.
many ways. I just archived it and tried to catalog it. Shout out to Greg for the Cash App. But this is y'all's creation. We're
Mm-hmm.
just putting it out and making sure it gets the attention it deserves, because just as BGS was saying, people reach out to me, and especially lately in the last couple months, I've been hearing people or having people write me saying, yo, I introduced this in this space, I introduced it in this space, I got an email talking about this has been brought to the DNC. But then I got everyday brothers that are like, yeah, I've been having conversations with the women in my family, or the women at the job, or the people in my class.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever it comes back to what black males want politically, they're used to dismissing us. But
Mm-hmm.
now I can actually articulate specific points about what we want, and the
Mm-hmm.
room ends up in silence.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you haven't visited, I put the link in the chat a little earlier. Check it out. There's a streamlined list in the front, then there are more detailed lists at the bottom. Everything's hyperlinked, so you can literally click and go right to where you want. And you can see, we've included evidence. There are links to articles, links to data, things of that nature. So you can actually directly get to what you're most interested in. And if you have something you want to contribute, this list is not complete. I don't care how long it's up. If it's 300 points, I don't give a damn. As long as the points being proposed improve the quality of life for black boys and men. That's the only prerequisite for having a suggestion make it to the political agenda. So all you got to do is send anything from 1 to 5 sentences breaking down what you're trying to add, what benefit it should bring, and try and include a couple of links, to something relevant, something substantiating, so that we know, where this is coming from and what data we can use to back it. That's it. It's a really informal process. You can do that at the bottom, of this particular document. You can add your comment there. You can email me however you want. But this is an informal grassroots level list where brothers are contributing. And I'm saying this because as we get political, be it tonight or in the future, this is our starting point. So when people say, well, what the hell do y'all want?
Yeah.
This is it. So
This is it.
take advantage of it, support it, continue to add to it, talk it up. If you got problems with it, as long as you articulate it respectfully, I'm down to listen. If you coming at me calling me out my name, look, I'm
You
not,
already know. You already know.
man. Anyway, so let me stick to the up and up. So let's get to some of this. Now, this is a piece. This is an article that came out yesterday, and I thought
Mm-hmm.
deserves some attention. I don't know if you had a chance to see this. This is a Newsweek piece called "Black Men Aren't Leaving the Democratic Party. The
Mm-hmm.
Democrats Left Us."
Mm-hmm.
C.J. Pearson writes this, founder and president of Freethinker Project. I thought this was an interesting piece, and he approached the topic well. And we're going to look at a couple of articles tonight that kind of come in at this in different ways. This one starts out with what happens on Tuesday, come election day, remains to be seen, but the left has already begun to see the writing on the wall. Their usual base just isn't there. And they're not just sounding the alarm, they're laying the groundwork for the blame game to come. Right? This past week, Sunny Hostin, former federal prosecutor turned co-host of The View, set her sights on the white suburban women, referring to them as roaches voting for Raid,
Ooh.
and their inclination to support conservative candidates running on conservative ideals. I know that's raw.
Mm.
In doing so, Hostin sought to make the argument that those women were not just voting against their interests, but actively working to bring about their own demise. Right? So you can see, I'm not going to play the video for obvious reasons,
Mm-hmm.
but you guys can check this out. And as usual, I'll have all the links in the description after the show. The truth is the opposite. These women may not be voting in accordance with Sunny Hostin's partisan interest. They are indeed voting in accordance with their own.
Yeah, they are. Yes.
Yeah. It was after all progressive policies that have been brought us. Okay, I'm tripping tonight. Progressive policies that have brought us record high inflation, open borders, skyrocketing costs at the grocery store and gas pump, and an America that many mothers feel as far too unsafe to raise their children in.
Mm-hmm.
It's hardly surprising that new polling from Wall Street Journal shows a 15-point advantage for Republican candidates among white women living in the suburbs. But it isn't white women alone that the left is planning to pin their electoral shortfalls on. It's black men too, right? In a Saturday morning interview with MSNBC, Democrat nominee for governor Stacey Abrams tested out the narrative. When asked about her poll numbers at the end of a lackluster campaign in Georgia, Abrams chose to blame black men for being too dumb, too ignorant, and just not sharp enough to see through so-called disinformation. Right? Any thoughts about that?
That You know, that is mommying on a grand scale.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In other words, too infantile and too unsophisticated to see past or discern what's true and not what's not true on the internet.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, like we're children or like we're her students.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's mommying on a grand scale.
Tell me this. Let me know if you can hear this real quick.
Mm-hmm.
See.
And governorship.
Yeah, I
Did you
hear
hear
it.
that? Okay. Let me try and kind of see where I can get to. I should have primed this up a little bit, but I never know if it's going to be something you guys could even hear.
Okay.
It's too late.
You put a one in the chat if you guys can hear it. So.
Or if you heard that quick little blurb
Mm-hmm.
that I played just a second of. Let's see here. There we go. So,
Yeah, they say they can hear it. So.
All right. So let's hear a little bit about what was just said here.
The other side.
While the polls are
So this is Stacey Abrams on black voters in Georgia.
always going to tell the story you want to see, what we know is that the untold story is that this is a tight race. It is neck and neck. Black men have increased their participation rates by 52% over 2018. And I do not believe it's because of a deep well of enthusiasm for my opponent. We know that Black voters are often discounted. And unfortunately, this year, Black men have been a very targeted population for misinformation, not misinformation about what they want, but about why they want what they deserve.
Okay.
When I first heard that, man, I said, "What does she mean?"
Mm-hmm.
When I read it, when it's actually in the transcript, I actually read it. I said, "What is she trying to say? Not what they want, but in fact, it was actually so conflated. I couldn't understand what she meant. What do you think she meant by that? Because I'm not quite sure."
And at the end of the day, I think basically this is pretty much what we predicted would be the response. We started calling this months ago that basically once the moment came where her and Karen Bass started talking about needing Black men, we already knew that if they lost, Black men were going to be the scapegoat. And if they won, it was going to be a demonstration of Black girl magic. Right?
Black girl magic. We're the better candidate. We're better than everybody else, and Black women rock.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the basis for the title of the video tonight. That's the basis for why we're approaching it. Even the thumbnail. The whole point of this was that Black males found themselves already between a rock and a hard place. I mean, at the end of the day, you're not going to be credited. You're not going to be applauded, even if you make the difference. But if the difference isn't made, you are a convenient scapegoat. And this is kind of the play that I think is something we're going to have to start expecting.
Yeah, I think what she's trying to say is Black men think they deserve something that they're not entitled to. And I think that's what I think they're blaming the Black manosphere to try to encourage Black men to actually press for things to get things that they're not entitled to.
And what would they be entitled? What's the entitlements? Would you say?
One is 50-50 custody of their children, right? We're not entitled to that. We're not entitled to the same education that Black girls get. We're not entitled to the same kind of help that Black women get. Homelessness, education, basically government assistance, jobs, all that kind of stuff. We're not entitled to that.
Yeah.
In other words, you think that you are, but you're not. You don't deserve that. In other words, you deserve what we say you deserve.
Yeah. Shout out to dang it, I hate when my screen closes. Shout out to Brother Fakude, if I pronounced that right, for the generous Cash App. It says for BGS Tats.
Appreciate you.
it. And let's check another. So I think you guys saw me kind of setting this up, but it still needs to be said. So let's hear what
Professor Crunk.
Professor Crunk, Dr. Brittany Cooper has to say. Uh-oh.
Your favorite professor.
Okay.
We need to talk about the demon of disinformation that has Black male voters in Georgia willing to support Raphael Warnock, but not Stacey Abrams. Come on. Disinformation.
So that's what we're looking at here. That's how this is all being spun. This is all about disinformation. This is
Mhm.
all about black men just being too ignorant to understand what's going on.
Mhm.
They're crazy enough to vote for those racist Republicans, and this is a very superficial dismissal of what black men are actually saying.
Mhm.
Yes, there is a percentage of black men that's voting Republican, but it's still relatively small. But the
Yes.
point that I think is more concerning is that black men are starting to say, you know what? If this is a political game that requires my vote,
Right.
we're going to actually have to talk about what specific needs I have as a demographic, because that's one thing that black males have never done. And I've said this to y'all repeatedly over the years.
Mhm.
Black males have never designated themselves a separate demographic, politically or socially for that matter. We've framed ourselves in the context of the black community. So other demographics, most particularly black women and LGBTs, can talk about their specific needs. We talk about generic black needs, but it's reached a point where it's finally necessary for black men to figure out what they need, what they want, and we're starting to see that happen. And you're already seeing the pushback. The pushback being, how dare you? How dare you
Mhm.
actually designate a need beyond what we give you permission to need?
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's an important distinction we got to talk about.
Yeah. What you think you deserve, right?
Right. What you think you deserve, what you think you're supposed to want, what you
Yeah.
should damn well ask for, and what you shouldn't. These kinds of assumptions are so common at this point.
Mhm.
And we don't think it, we don't, we accept it in many ways as normal because we've been told what to vote for, how to vote, who to vote for. And this is one of the reasons you see people like Abrams, just shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked.
Yeah. How dare you go to college? You're supposed to get you a trade.
Yeah. And shout out to Keeping 100. No policies, no vote.
Mm.
No talk.
Facts.
Yeah, that's precisely what it is. So let me see. Go ahead and finish the brother was saying here real quick. All right. So as one of those black men, I'd like to pose a few questions to a woman vying to be the governor of my home state. Is it misinformation that inflation, according to government statistics, is at a record high? Is it misinformation that while the cost of consumer goods has risen, according to the Washington Post, wages have failed to keep up? Is it misinformation that in urban cities across America, it has become a game of Russian roulette every single time you step out of your door as to whether or not you'll return home alive and unharmed? Right? The reality is that none of these things are misinformation, so much so that even the liberal corporate media can no longer choose to ignore them. As to Abrams' point that black men are confused about what they deserve, I take particular offense to that. No black men, do black men not deserve to live in safe communities? Do black men not deserve affordable consumer goods? Do black men not deserve the respect of progressive politicians whom up to until recently they supported nearly unequivocally and almost always without challenge? Let me answer those questions. Yes, 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 yes. Right? We're tired of being taken for granted. We're tired of being used and abused and being told to shut up when we get too vocal. We're tired of being told to aimlessly follow. We're tired of being slaves on a plantation. And we are ready to be free, to be liberated, and to be respected. Come November 9th, progressives can blame us all they want, but it wasn't black men that left the Democrat Party. They left us.
Here.
Any thoughts about that?
Yeah. Free Thinker Project, and he's not. He's probably not a liberal.
I don't get that impression. No. Don't get
What
that impression.
the thing is that I would say 5 years ago, for a black man to speak out like that, he'd be a pariah.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think our intelligentsia like you, okay, you guys can sow the seeds, you can maybe grow the crops. I'm saying somebody's got to till the soil and make the soil ready for these ideas, okay?
Mhm.
Because just like the parable of the sower, if the seeds don't fall on fertile ground, they're not going to grow.
Mhm.
Okay. So it took I think it took the manosphere, the black manosphere, to start tilling the soil and making the soil ready for these seeds. And now these seeds have been planted, and now I think they're starting to grow. And I think that's what's making people nervous. I don't know about afraid, because we really aren't asking for anything that any other group that wouldn't ask for. We're not asking for anything outrageous. If we're asking for total revolution or something like that, I could understand, but we're not. We're asking to be treated like an everyday human being, instead of a scapegoat, instead of a stepping stone, instead of, like you call Dr. Johnson, a concuserve, as we have been for the last 200 years.
Mm. Damn. Anyway, definitely true. And I wanted to take it a step further. I wanted to relate this moment politically with some things that are going on in other areas, because I think there's a connection, right? So we're seeing this massive kind of moment where, the larger mainstream society is starting to recognize that Black men have their own sets of concerns. As a matter of fact, there's another couple articles, and I'm not going to go through them right now, but you can check them out yourself. This one's on NPR, right? Politicians need to mobilize Black male voters ahead of the midterm, experts say. When's the last time you saw an article like that?
Never.
Yeah.
Never. The Black male it was usually the Black vote or the Black woman's vote, but never the Black male vote.
Yeah. And you see the barbershop reference, because that's the only way they understand it, so it's always in there somewhere. But the gender gap in voting isn't specific to Black voters. And it starts to go in some details about that, but you can see how it kind of breaks that down in here. Terrence Woodbury, CEO of Hit Strategies, a polling firm specialized in understanding young and minority voters, tells NPR's All Things Considered that while there is a gender gap in voting when it comes to Black men and women, it's not particularly unique to Black voters, but to voters across all races. What's unique about Black male voters is that they were Democratic voters. They were supporting Barack Obama at 90% margins. Now that we've seen that decline to 79 or 80%, is in fact enough to make the marginal difference in states like Georgia, Wisconsin, and North Carolina, where they have diverse candidates at the top of the ticket. Right? So you're seeing that they're starting to recognize this split, even though Black men are not, it's not like it's a dramatic 90% drop.
Yeah.
But it's significant enough already.
Yeah, and what Jimmy Dore was saying, I was listening to him earlier. What he's saying is that the movement of the Black male, the movement of Black male independence is starting to affect the white voters that were fence sitters. So we were starting to influence other people, and I think that's probably a bigger issue that hasn't even been spoken on. The black manosphere over the past 2 years since the pandemic is starting to influence the white manosphere, which is much larger. Okay, our talking points, our concerns, the way we do things, and some of the things that they rock with, they're starting to side with. So we are starting to influence. We've always been the moral center of this country. The Black population. So when Black males do something, even in the 60s, right, the so-called male revolt was actually led by Black men.
And this is one of the things I wanted to add. I've been saying this as well for the last year, right? It says in recent polling by Hit Strategy, 73% of Black men said their lives had not improved since Biden took office. But I take it a step further. I make the argument that when you ask the average brother if his life has significantly changed under either a conservative or a liberal, president, is there a noticeable difference? You tell me.
Is there a noticeable difference?
Is there a difference in the quality of life that the average Black male notices?
The thing is always hit or miss, no matter which president it is, right? Even under Obama, a few more people, Black men got, blue collar men got jobs. Some people kind of, weren't as persecuted. So it's always hit or miss, and it really doesn't matter which party's in office. It took COVID for Donald Trump to crack down on police misbehavior. But the thing is, he did. But the thing is, it's always hit or miss. But the thing is, overall, no. Okay, because always we're going to gain on one side and lose on another.
Yeah.
So if you look across the board, basically, no. It really doesn't matter who's in office.
But that actually puts us in a fairly powerful position because, as it's been said before, if you're used to sleeping on the ground, you can't fall out of bed. So, for Black men, if we're actually used to not getting anything, withholding our votes is not as difficult as it might be for others, or withholding our support, because at the end of the day, we're not used to it. We tend to vote, in the interest of our community in general, but we ourselves don't expect much, or we haven't expected much, and we haven't gotten much. But let me cover some of these super chats real quick. Shout out to MS Delta Guy. Says, I hope the polls show that Black men pushed Kemp to the win. Okay. Thank you for that generous support. Shout out to Mr. Shane Vicious. Abrams lost because Kemp has the advantage of being the incumbent, and there really isn't much of an anti-Kemp sentiment in Georgia, it was his to lose.
Facts.
You know, as I understand it, Kemp was willing to go a step further and look at jobs and actually try to court black men, but I'm not sure.
Black men vote. He did. In fact, that's the Killer Mike got almost censured because he actually said it. He said Stacey Abrams need to go every place that Brian
Yeah.
Kemp just went.
Yeah, he did.
And she doubled down and says she's not going to do it. It is what it is.
Shout out to Duquette for the support. Just keep up the great work. Appreciate that. Mentions me and BGS.
Oh yeah. Oh, I appreciate you.
You know, let's see. Shout out to Black Wizard Ados. The entitlement. They are going to say we're misleading the masses on is the hegemonic patriarchy narrative. Okay.
Yeah, well, we've already disproven the patriarchy. Well, the patriarchy in the United States does not exist. Okay, it's a myth, and it never existed amongst black males. We proved that over and over and over again.
Wow.
So we killed that myth, which is something they don't appreciate.
Yeah. MS Delta says that one full figure Professor Cooper said it was demons on black men. Shaking my damn head. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's called facts and information. Okay.
Right. But that's the kind of entitlement we're talking about. She, like Abrams, assumed the black male vote. And that's because we've always given it. You know, as black women have moved into electoral politics in higher and higher numbers. I've been saying this for years as well. That's predicated on education. Black women are going to school in higher numbers than black men. We've seen an upshot in electoral representation, but they primarily fixate on black women's issues. This was something we saw when Abrams sat down with black men. The first thing out of her mouth was abortion.
Abortion, yeah.
And it's not to say that you can't talk to black men about abortions, but it suggested how tone deaf she was because she didn't bother to ask them what they wanted to talk about. She just led with talking points that are relevant to black women because in her mind, she's talking to the black community, and the black community is women.
Yeah,
so women's issues are priority one.
We had, like I said, it was like maybe 2 months ago on a stream. We had some Stacey Abrams supporters, and they were kind of salty that we asked Stacey Abrams for something for black men, and so they pulled out policies and they read them off and they said, okay, what specifically do these policies that you just read will help black men? And they couldn't say anything. So we said, how come you can't talk to Stacey Abrams that should come down and say, whatever policies you put in place, it shouldn't be that hard to explain how that these policies will help black men. It shouldn't take that much. Okay.
No. Should be
she never did. Yeah.
Yeah. She highlighted an agenda that never even mentioned black men.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a black male agenda.
Right.
Again, and we said this in a previous show, there's only one black male agenda you're going to find when you Google it. You mean to tell me you don't think she paid attention? Her cabinet didn't look at what we wrote? Okay. There's only one that you're going to find. And she all of a sudden puts one together that doesn't mention black men, but somehow is supposed to court black men with generic policies that are supposed to be something that anyone will benefit from if she's in office.
And I'm sure her irritating nephew or cousin actually told her, why don't you look up Dr. Johnson's black male agenda on the internet.
This is what shout out to Passport OG. It says no voting, no vucking. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that too is another thing, another slap in the face. These kinds of juvenile approaches to get black men to participate. You're literally putting strippers on poles, and it's
and how do distasteful to put a literal transsexual sing it to us. I said that maybe I don't want to, no disrespect to transsexuals or gender fluid people, no disrespect to them, but to a heterosexual black male that's 60 years old, man, that is disrespectful to me to do that in a political campaign.
But at the end of the day, it means that you're not talking to us. That's to me the bottom line. It doesn't even have to do with how you feel with trans or LGBT. You're not talking to us, but you're telling us that you're talking to us.
Yes.
That's the part. You're going to tell us that you're directing this message to us and then clearly not even take into account our issues, our consideration, nor give black men a voice in the damn commercials you're using to attract black male attention.
Yeah. Even on the eve of the vote, man, by saying that we're, literally too dumb to actually discern information from disinformation, right, on the internet. That's another slap in the face. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like I said, I mean, these are intelligent, well-read, uh, uh, lettered people, okay, that are in the public eye, and this is what they resort to. I mean, kiss you on the street probably would give you more respect than that.
All right. Shout out to Great I9 says this is the Black masculinist turn. Yeah. We've seen some micro turns over the last few years, and we're starting to see Black men respond in larger numbers. And this is the thing, we're talking about Black men across the political spectrum on both sides of the bipartisan aisle and across that. We're seeing Black men who have radically different ideologies who are still supporting this kind of withdrawal and demand for engagement.
Yeah, it's a funny thing because we've identified there's a left, a left, center, and right component to the Black manosphere, right? And when Doc's agenda showed up on all three sectors, right? There might be points they agree or disagree with that might need some altering, but for the most part, I would say 80% of what's there they agree with, and this is all three sectors. The conservatives, liberal, and middle of the road. Okay, so we're pretty unified as far as what we really want.
Yeah, I don't know too many brothers that aren't going to support family court reform, except for ones who may not have kids. But let yourself go through a divorce, and you're gonna find that a lot of the issues. Really, at the end of the day, when you start living life, a lot of the issues that we're talking about become more relevant to you. The more you have to deal with. Shout out to No One says, let's play their game with misinfo. If we are informed, then come talk to us like the DNC went to the white males and asked the question for the past 15 years.
Yes, they sure did. They had town hall meetings all across the nation, before and after the election.
Well, shout out to the Riddler says for that support, says voted rep down ballot here in Miami for the first time. Didn't even entertain a Dem candidate.
Wow.
Bless you for the content. Yeah. I'm not even I'm an independent one way or the other. My whole push is that we vote for who's willing to work with our specific interests. That's my whole point. So I don't care if it's a Democrat or a Republican. If they take what we're talking about seriously and are able to put something on the docket, you have my attention. So Shocks 112, appreciate the support, says if Kevin Samuels, rest in peace, was the godfather, this is the elders of the commission.
And you don't know how true that actually is.
You go.
You don't even know how true that actually is. But that's a story for a different day.
Shout out to Great I9 again. Says they couldn't even give a straight Black man a job in a voting ad. God damn.
Wow.
Are we supposed to think they're going to give us jobs and resources in office?
Oh boy.
Damn. Yeah, that's fire right there. Shout out to Great I9. You got Donnie in the house, the Onyx Party, Black Manosphere PAC. All right, Political Action Committee. They calling for it. What's your thoughts on a PAC?
It should have happened a long time ago, and I think with the Black Panthers, it was snuffed out. And the Black Panthers have never risen to that same kind of a deal. But that was flat blackness. I think what we should is have a party for Black men.
Yeah.
Political Action Committee. And we have the people. We got lawyers, we got academics, we got politicians, we got money people. We got a whole bunch of people that can actually put that into action. It doesn't take that much. Okay. Yeah. With kind of access and voice that we have on the internet with Twitter, YouTube, Twitter, and the other places, right? It doesn't take as much as it used to. So it's very literally already have it, in a sense. Okay. We just haven't put it together. We already have a political action committee right now, because you can see its effect. It's called the Black Manosphere. Okay. It is literally a political action committee without the lobbyists.
Well, let me see here. This is another one. So I said there's a couple of there we go. Yeah. So this is another article. I said there's a couple of them, right? So you got this one. This is in the New York Times, right? In final push for votes, both parties court Black men. Democrats and Republicans see Black male voters as key in tight races. Most support Democrats, but some see Republicans as offering a better shot at upward mobility. Now, let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people say over the years we're too small a population, you know, because we're only less than 5% of the country as Black.
Right.
We don't really have any. We don't have any PACs, any super
Right.
PAC. We don't, you know, for the most part, when you look at income, especially when you account for incarceration, we're the only group that make less than our women. And yet, despite all of that, you know, when people say, well, we don't have any power, why should we bother about voting? Why should we bother? Look, power has always been about being able to leverage opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been about being able to leverage a given moment. And if you're more prepared than not to leverage a moment before it comes, you can jump on it. And this is what I think is happening at this moment. We've been talking about this in these spaces for years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody anticipated that we might be able to bring something to bear. And now you're starting to see political candidates talking about these Black men and you on YouTube and, you know, all this. None of this is an accident.
No.
None of this is an accident. This is something that can be leveraged. So you don't have to be, you know, the largest or the most well endowed in terms of wealth to affect change. You just have to be able and be prepared to leverage an opportunity. This is something I've talked about before. We saw this happen with the civil rights movement. You don't have to look. It's not about whether you like the civil rights movement or not. It's about the fact that you had a small population of poor Black folk who actually got the attention of the world because they leveraged media in the midst of the Cold War at a time period where now all of a sudden the rest of the world is looking at the U.S. like, what y'all gonna do about these people?
Yeah. Go back and watch the movie Selma. That's what it was about.
Yeah,
leveraging the moment.
Leveraging the moment, right? That's not a guarantee that we're gonna be riding off in the sunset afterwards, but it's how you move the needle. Leverage the moment, and then you prepare to leverage the next moment.
Yeah.
Right. So we're looking at doing that very thing. Shout out to Cameron. Says appreciate the conversation, appreciate that support. K-Ron, appreciate that. It says the world is seeing that ignoring and insulting Black men is no longer free. It will now have high costs. We are loyal to our agendas, not political parties. Get it?
Get it?
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. Shout out to Motown Hemi. Voted straight R here in Miami for the first time.
I think it's Michigan.
Oh, Michigan?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. For the first time in my life, the R candidate for Gov plans to phase out state income tax, would save about $1,200 per paycheck. Damn.
Wow, Jesus Christ. Okay.
Wow.
I want to live in your house, man.
Ooh, man. Shout out Stylist 180. Hope you're well. Yeah, man. This is what's going on. So just in this push, recognize that, you know, when these articles are coming out, granted, they may not be happening between elections, but when you finally see that you're in a position to affect change, even with a small population,
right?
The better organized you are, the more primed you are to take advantage of
it. There's something you always quoted to me about Gramsci, okay, saying something similar.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't read Gramsci since grad school, but I remember one of those discussions we had in in those grad school classes, and one of the things that he was talking about was that you know, when you start talking about what is it? Oh damn it, I'm blanking on the term. You caught me off guard with that one. When he starts talking about hegemony, the simplistic interpretation of hegemony that people use is that it's one group who's more powerful than another, just exploiting it. That's not necessarily what he meant. What he was saying is that any group can have access to power, you know, and if they're able, and this is where I'm invoking my terminology, you know, if they're able to leverage the moment. He wasn't saying that it's always about the more powerful oppressing the weaker. He was saying that any group can have access to that and make their will felt, for better or for worse, you know. And so that in that respect, hegemony was a more of a kind of a system of social relations that don't imply just a top-down narrative, but a flexible narrative where people in a variety of positions can influence power at a variety of different levels, all at the same time. It is a moving, dynamic system, right? And so we have to move out of this binary of, you know, well, we have to have all the power in order to affect change, or else it's not even worth dealing with. No, that's not what Gramsci was talking about. He was saying that you can actually maximize your position if you're willing to strategize, do the work, and really be aware of where your position is.
Yeah, where are you on the board? Yeah.
That's all I was really referring to. Shout out to Stylist for that super sticker. Appreciate that, brother. Hope you're well. But I wanted to show these. Now, the next thing I wanted to move into
Mm-hmm.
And I think it relates to this. So we're looking at, how Black men are being regarded. We're seeing we're getting attention. But in contrast to that, this is what we're being leveraged against.
That's the name of the show.
Right. Yeah. This is an article from fortune.com. Black women in the glass cliff. I was supposed to bring some kind of black girl magic.
Mm.
And I'm not going to read through the entire article, but what the article is basically about, it's about, what BGS would call high power 92s
Mm-hmm.
that are in positions of authority. They've been made CEOs of corporations and yet find themselves within a very short period of time quitting due to the pressure, the frustration, and of course, the expectations of the strong Black woman narrative. And what they're saying is that they're being advanced into positions, high level positions, by whites
Mm.
under the basic idea that they're going to bring something different, despite how the company is organized. It may be completely atrocious, the structure of the company, whatever's going on, and they're expected to bring in magic. Right? They're expected to bring in a whole new, system. They're expected to fix things. And so this article just kind of highlights women that are not, who are crumbling under the pressure of those expectations and stepping back for their own well-being. Right. And so she gives a number of examples. See, I think this is the one. This one's behind the paywall, so it's probably, well. Anyway, so she kind of highlights that, and it reminded me of a certain person who recently lost her position at MSNBC.
Mm.
Right. This is actually dealing with Tiffany Cross, who was fired on Friday. Her weekend show was canceled, unexpectedly, with her staff finding out on Friday morning. For a variety of reasons for the firing was Cross's on-air barbs aimed at conservative names like Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly. But for Cross, her exit was just disheartening, and she spoke out on Friday after the news dropped. And so she has this, this long piece up here that she posted up, which looks to be on Twitter. Right? Statement from Tiffany Cross on the abrupt cancellation of Cross Connection. Now, any thoughts on Tiffany Cross?
Mommy Incorporated.
Yeah, talk about that.
It's funny that she would get canned right after this. I wouldn't say it's a debacle. Right after this kerfuffle about black male votes.
Okay.
So I don't know the whole reason that she may have gotten let go. That may come out later, but I'm sure it's not too far from us, her mommy and us on national TV, and causing this wave to actually expand, because she kind of let the cat out of the bag. Because if she hadn't mentioned it, maybe none of this attention would have actually happened.
Yeah. Well, I think another element of this, apparently, because you guys can read through that if you want. I have no desire to. I'll read the breakdown, the shorter breakdown they gave in the article. She says, "I'm disheartened to learn of MSNBC's decision to cancel my show, The Cross Connection, at such a crucial time, 4 days after midterm elections." Cross wrote in a lengthy statement, "And we were intentional about centering marginalized voices of the rising majority from all communities of color." Bullshit. You were intent on silencing voices who are marginalized, as long as it didn't coincide with the direction that you and the Gynarchy were interested in taking.
And their handlers higher up on the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
You're there to deliver votes and deliver people, and you didn't. So you failed. So that's where the black girl magic failed.
Yeah, that's where it failed. And she actually, at one point, I think this was on Charlemagne the God show, actually called Florida the dick of the country. I think that might have had something to do with it.
It had a lot to do with it, yeah.
But this kind of sensibility that you can do no wrong, right? You're gonna, and this reminds me of, what is the name, Malika Andrews or whatnot,
right?
You're gonna come in and you're just gonna start telling people off because of black girl magic. You're just gonna check everybody, set everybody crazy. It's almost like a living Mary Sue from a movie, where you're going to come in without the years of experience that others have. You're just going to tell everybody what to do, set everything right, because you know better, simply because you exist.
And it's funny because right after this the Stacey Abrams thing, right, started watching. There's two more campaigns going on for the Senate, right? I think one is North Carolina, one's in Florida, and the two black female candidates, man, and I've seen them talking to their white counterparts just like they're talking to black men.
Mm.
Wow, I said this is not going to go well. So they think they can mommy the whole nation.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with how they're perceived in media. I mean, you got a legacy where both black men and women were not considered men or women. We were more like cattle. But when you start to look at the kind of stereotyping or really the stereotyping of the personage on the plantation, one of the personages for black women in the collective American memory is this woman who is raising white children, right, and on the plantation, in the master's house, so on and so forth, and considers herself in that respect in a position, even though she's considered asexual, she's considered void of being and humanity, she's still perceived as some type of mother figure. So I think you have some women that are trying to, kind of build on this idea, and as you said, mommy everybody. Now, black men are the first to be mommied if we fall out of line, but now we're seeing them extending this to white America. Right. And that's it is what it is. But you can imagine how far that's going to go. But that's what we're seeing. I mean, in many ways, I've been calling this social gentrification, because many black women have been advanced to the position of being guard dogs or gatekeepers for black men. They've been put in charge of disciplining and silencing black men. Now, I'm not going to play the clips, but I think many of you have seen some of the clips are from this week in regard to Kylie Irving, to Kanye West. We're seeing this happening on ESPN, where you have pundits, or I should say really anchors, silencing the black male voice, even from black male anchors that are working on these shows, being silenced and told what not to say, what to say. I think the brother who was talking about, Irving and the movie he had actually, shared in his social media, and he was attacked for it. And brother adequate, asked a solid question. If you're going to attack Kyrie Irving, why is there no heat whatsoever for Amazon that's showing the film?
They're showing the film, yeah.
And he was immediately silenced for asking the question. We saw a similar thing happen with Jalen Rose when he asked about, Udoka.
Udoka, yeah.
He said, well, if we can hear about Udoka, why can't we hear about the other employee? And within a commercial break, he was spanked in public, had to come out and apologize. For asking, right? So this kind of expectation that black men stay silent, and it's an ongoing thing, but now we're seeing black women placed in higher position, partially to keep us quiet, to kind of discipline. I call it social gentrification because I've been saying this for a couple of years now. They've been made a buffer class, and now this is not all black women, of course, but the black women at the higher echelons who are able to get degrees and white collar jobs, they're placed in positions like this.
Yeah. If you're up there with near closer to the top, you can actually see it, because it affects your jobs and your career aspects. And I'm not gonna, say what we talked about, but the thing is, it's very visceral, and we have, I've heard a lot of people in certain positions, academics, management, complain about this. Complain about it. They either they got they get a job or didn't get a job at the whim of the black women that were associated as gatekeepers. In place.
Well, and this reminds me of the interview I did with Kevin Samuels on the Institute for Black Male Studies channel. You can find that. It's free. It's on YouTube. I did an interview with him about his life. Right? One of the things he talked about at a key moment was working in the corporate space since the early 90s. And he talked about the ways in which he would get into these spaces that were majority white, and he was competing with mostly white men, which he expected. That was what it was. He went into it knowing that he was prepared to do battle. But what he didn't expect was the hostility he got from black women in the same space. And so he talked about that kind of combative air about dealing with black women in the same space. And he was thinking that there would be some type of camaraderie, some type of engagement, that found himself in battle. So what we're talking about when we look at these spaces that women have been groomed into moving into, but at the same time, it tends to be the kind of women that had a hostility for black men. And it brings us back to this question of the glass cliff, as this article refers to, right? Basically reaching this high level, being expected to perform magic, and then, stepping back for the sake of your own individual well-being because it can't be done. But
Mm-hmm.
what's not added to this article, when you get a chance to check it out, what they don't talk about, they don't mention black men at all.
No.
So the hostility directed at black men is ignored. And I think part of the quote unquote failure of some of these women that she's talking about in this article is that for any other group, there would be a bond between men and women at this level.
Mm-hmm.
Any other group. For this group, black men aren't mentioned at all, not in the slightest. Right. And we're seeing the same kind of thing happening with Abrams in this election. By the time they acknowledge black men, it's on the back end. There's almost a sarcastic edge. Or I should say, there's a shaming edge
Mm-hmm.
to it, because that's the only way they know how to engage black men.
Mm-hmm.
But this piece ignored black men altogether. So you have this group, this very small group who have reached the highest echelon, but find themselves without support.
Right.
But without support they can trust, without support that they can build on. I mean, who you going to trust more than the people in your own community in a normal functional setting? What we end up having is, this glass cliff idea where there's failure at the top. And I think part of that is because the relationship with black men is not functional. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you split the group, and they're entrusting their entrusting their careers and their success with what they deem as their oppressor. Okay. Because the people that you trust, you need to actually make money from as you advance your career, cannot be your aid, your friends, and your oppressors at the same time. And it's something that I think Concrete Rose was saying. I actually played a clip of it, right? That black women see black men as their competitors.
Right.
It's a zero-sum game. If you get it, that means I won't get it.
Right.
And if your son gets it or your friend gets it, that means my daughter or my friends won't get it.
Right.
So basically, we seem as competition and not aid or not support.
Yeah. Real quick, shout out to Cool Breeze. This is a small amount, but I've wanted to contribute to this excellent platform. Much respect to you, Doc and BGS. I have a son and 3 grandsons and brothers and cousins with sons. Much needed. Much appreciation, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I show that for a reason. What's up, 72 Paths? I see you in there. I showed that for a reason, because we're actually getting out there. When you got brothers over here talking about they got brothers, they got sons, they got grandsons, they got cousins, and they're sharing this information, they're having these discussions, they're sharing the data, the talking points, the argument. This is what I mean when I was talking about Gramsci. This is what I'm saying. It's spreading. The work is being done, whether you believe it or not. It is a process. It's not an overnight one. It doesn't happen with the flick of a light switch, but especially when it's organic, it builds from the bottom up. And that's something Gramsci talked about as well. The organic intellectual, it comes out of the ground. 608 Portrait says, I'm with any party that is pro-family, Second Amendment, pro-business, less taxes, less welfare, prayer in school, tough on crime, non-LGBT, anti-illegal immigration. This will benefit the black family. Okay.
It will. Yeah, it will. It will. And the thing is that, but we have to get specific to what our needs are for black men, because even that is flat blackness. How do you form a family? How do you, Second Amendment? That's a right. But the thing is, how can you get Second Amendment? Because you have women and white males can walk around with their bare arms, with what black men do with that, and all of a sudden we become FBI. We get on the radar of FBI and targeted by the local police. So think, how can we change this perception, even by our own women, because our own women see us walking around with guns as a threat. So how do we change this perception? The thing is, how do we change perception? And the easy way to change perception is actually change policy.
Yeah, that's the beginning point of it. And every group, especially every group that we talk about in terms of doing well, have changed policy, have worked with policy, have had to work with groups. They've had to, engage people that they don't agree with, but share concerns on particular issues. This is a process, but it's a process that everybody has to take advantage of if they want to advance.
And there is no one party that goes one way or the other, right? Because there's really very little difference between Republican and the Democratic Party. They both carry their policies. If you look at no fault divorce, abortion, all that kind of stuff, that was put in by Republicans. Okay, it was not Democrats that put that in. Okay, even though Democrats support it, it was actually put in by one party. Okay, one party or the other. That's called continuity of government. Basically, so policy being changed is not necessarily because of one party changed over another one. It's normally because the environment has changed, or people have forced the environment to change. So we can't change the physical environment always, but what we can change is the social environment and also the policy environment, what gets passed. Because Me Too was not a thing. Me Too had been around since the 70s, but Me Too was not a factor until the I think it was the Dear Colleagues letter that Obama put in 2011. Also, Me Too had teeth, because without teeth, Me Too doesn't mean anything. But when it has teeth, especially in the colleges, starting in the college, and actually spread itself out into the business world, then all of a sudden it had teeth. So the thing is that different environments, policy gives certain ideas teeth. Okay, so how do we fight those particular things that are negative to us? We have to start slowly but surely shifting the environment and shifting the way that policy is being done.
Right. I want to do about 30 minutes of some engagement. You got about 30 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. I'm gonna put the link up. I'm gonna invite people in one at a time, just to drop a statement or a question real quick that BGS and I can address. And I want to keep it to 30 minutes. So make sure you're concise. If you don't want to come up, that's cool. We'll kind of close it out. But I want to get some feedback on where people are with what's going on, the political moment that we're in, the potential of that moment, what you guys think about it. But regardless of what people are willing to say publicly or not, do not get it twisted when I tell you, you are having an effect that I want you to walk away with, if nothing else. We got Colonel Faulkner himself in the building. What's up, man?
Officer of the goddamn law.
Yes, officer of the goddamn law and colonel of his own security firm. We're growing, baby.
All right.
That's to let you all know I connected with a former police commissioner of Baltimore and a couple of jazz lounges. So we're growing.
All right. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Growing little by little.
That's right.
That's why you got to have struggle to get the strength. And I look at this political season of Black men have to utilize the motto that I had: my brother, my champion, my savior. We got to be each other's brothers. We got to be each other's champions, and we damn sure got to be each other's saviors. And this is what I want Black men to actually put their chest up, back straight, walk with your head held. Walk with your head held high. And I want people to look, Marilyn just keeps trying to call me as soon as I get up here.
Okay.
And it's funny because Maryland just elected their first Black governor. And he's a veteran of war himself.
Okay.
Hopefully that's right by the people. I'm looking at Stacey Abrams and this Brittany Cooper and people like that. And Black men are just tired. Black men are tired of being ignored. We're tired of being undermined. Like I said in the chat, Black men are like Lamar Jackson. Yesterday's price is not today's price. You should have treated me well and kept me while I was cheap. Now I'm gonna pull up, I'm gonna do my numbers. And the more that Black men actually start to unify, regardless of party, regardless of religion, regardless of whatever, insert ideology right here. This is a chance to build. We should have a 300-page point. Whether if it's the Gray Faulkner Initiative, whether it's Dr. T's plan, I don't care. There's like generals in the Revolutionary Army who says, we have to fight like gentlemen. And then there were the smart ones who said, the hell with that, we're gonna cheat.
Okay.
And that's how we have to do it, by hook or by crook. And to answer your question about how to defeat a Mary Sue, you never interrupt an idiot making a mistake.
Okay.
and they've been making a hell of a lot of mistakes.
Right.
And I just want to end off with this, because I know you're pulling up more people. Be proud, Black man. Don't ever go into any situation, a marriage, a relationship, an occupation, college, without demanding something for your efforts first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you have to. Sometimes you have to have the dignity to know when to walk away.
All right. Much appreciated, man. Y'all make sure you support the channel. Let me go ahead and put that up there so you can go ahead and check out. All right. Appreciate you, man. All right. Let me go ahead and bring up the next one. I got a lot of brothers in here, so let's bring up Matt real quick. Matt, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
All right. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing pretty good, actually. It's a good night. Actually, watching the election and was watching everything going down. Want to say, man, I want to give y'all a shout out, man, for your channel. I appreciate it. Y'all do a lot of good work. The BGS, man, whoo, man, you got some strong ones there, man. A lot of things you say I can actually relate to. But it's a few things I noticed. I was like, generally speaking, if we actually put our heads together and work to accomplish our goals, we can get there. I know they'd be like, we got to do it by the, pull up our boots and just go ahead and get to working on it. Hey, I'm a good candidate for that right there myself. Going through a separation, currently at my ex's house right now, actually. I just got back in town. And believe me, I got a story I can tell, but I'm still working on my journey.
Okay.
Only thing I can say is we got to be careful, too, about the narratives that's going to get put out there on us, too, because it wasn't just about us not showing up for Stacey, because in a lot of other circles, they talking about the crime that's being committed, and they're going to use that on the other side. So we got to make sure we control that narrative, too, as well.
Oh, yeah. The thing was, we're already a pariah. So basically,
right.
The more they talk about us, the more we spread. So
yeah, and that's one of the narratives I'm always constantly trying to go against anyway, because I feel like that's one of the strong points that we have in the community. I remember way back in Chicago when the driver was driving down the street and somebody gave him a crazy look, and he just shot at the person for looking. And it's one of them narratives that we got. We want to be the toughest, the baddest, but it don't translate well in the community, in the world, because they're seeing us, they thinking one thing, and we're saying something totally different. They're not understanding the whole narrative. So we got to get control back of our narrative and actually continue to tell that story. That's why I appreciate the channel, because y'all actually saying the things that we need to be saying.
No, appreciate
it. Community.
Oh, much appreciated, man. Thank you.
Yeah. So I appreciate it, man. Yep.
Appreciate
I'm going to go. Yeah.
All right,
I'm going to go now. So, all right, thanks.
Take it easy at your ex's house. I don't want to hear you in the news.
Nah, it ain't like that. Basically,
I'm playing with you. I
don't want to see that piece that said today is the day. Okay.
Nah, it ain't even like that. I'm kind of like I have a good support when it came to that. I cut my circle down real small.
Okay.
I didn't really mess around with a lot of people. I just kind of like humbled myself and actually dug into what I need to do and started doing that. That's why I'm saying I picked myself up. I actually came from.
Okay.
Yeah, I went through a lot to get to where I'm at. I'm gonna say it that way. I watched the Mexicans come up from like South America and seeing how they were going through them caravans coming up here, tracking through the jungles and all that to get to where they're going. And it's like, yeah, I could do that too. So, and I did it. So I'm doing it now, actually.
That's what's up, man. Keep the grind going. I appreciate you coming up. Look forward to having you back, man.
All right.
Peace. Let's go ahead and welcome Samuel. Let's get Samuel in here. Where'd he go? There we go.
I'm here.
What's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. I can hear you clearly. Okay. I was just saying congratulations tonight. Basically, I really think that the Black male agenda, which we can definitely grow, will be the way that we can try to get power in politics, because as was said earlier tonight, we can use it to actually say, this is what we actually want.
Right.
You can put it forward and say, these are the things we want. why did Stacey Abrams not get the support of Black men? Well, she didn't actually put forward a policy to get the support of Black men, except to actually try to berate us into voting for her.
Right.
Democrats have tried to do that for a long time. Republicans have done that in the past. And really, when it comes to this question of trying to put Black women as not all Black women, but as you said, the upper classes of Black women as a buffer class, we have to kind of look back at, it reminded me of something that Amos Wilson, the psychologist, said, where education is not a tool for you if it's not created for you. So the education of everybody in the United States as a Black person is an education that's not for your benefit. But as you get to the upper echelons, you know, what is the Black woman in that article talking about? Why I had to step back? She was put in that position to make money for white people.
Oh, right.
Not to put her people in a better position, but maybe herself individualistically. But when it comes to education as a tool to solve Black people's problems, that's not what it's doing. It's creating more problems. And so using this, and I used to work in politics in California and the California Young Democrats, which I left because they're no good. They're no good at all. And now as a father, I can tell you that politics is not based on them trying to actually figure out what you want. They're trying to tell you what you want. And we need to actually use this. In the past, you used to build a platform. And this is the platform that we want our candidates to stand on. We want to produce our candidates is the 15 point or whatever it grows into in the future platform for all. You want our votes? Here's the platform you have to stand on to get it. Here's what we're demanding. And this is how we'll get there. And we just need to stick to it. Yeah. And I wanted to thank you for sticking to it years ago when you thought it wouldn't work. It will work. And if we keep doing it, I think we'll get real far. And I wanted to thank you both.
Oh, man. Thank you, man.
You. Can't do it without you guys, man. Can't change the world by yourself.
Oh, appreciate you, man. Thank you, Samuel. All right.
Peace. Yeah, that's the thing I want to tell. I told doctors a long time ago, man, you can't change the world by yourself. You need help. You need a lot of help. It takes every one of you to actually change the world. It changed the world for us. So you deserve as much credit as we do.
And just keep in mind, there are areas of the agenda that need embellishment. Like there's some of the suggestions, some of the proposals are just a couple sentences. If you see it and you know how you could expand on it, you know, send in a word, you know, so let's add to it. I never said it was complete, never said it was perfect. It is a beginning point. And I thought before we could advance anything politically, we needed to know where we stand. What is it we actually want? So contribute to it. Let's get it going. Let me.
It's a living document. It's not static.
Right. It's not static at all. Let me go ahead and welcome Gavin. Gavin, can you hear us?
Hey, Gavin.
Hey, Master BGS. Hey, Dr. TSR. How you guys doing?
Good.
Well, how about yourself?
I'm doing good. I just got home from work about an hour ago. I'm here in the LA time, so I'm in the same time zone with you guys. And it's been interesting. As you know, here in LA, we've been dealing with mainly the LA City Council debacle.
Yes.
Okay.
And what I found interesting from what my research I've done, I'll flat out say it was not about race per se, but more just follow the money. It was a money grab, and she thought she could play chess, and she realized, wait a minute, she got spanked.
Okay.
Yeah, she said it out loud. But the thing, this is, you know, anybody that's dealt with these kind of dynamics between Latino and Black. This is something that's been said for a long time on the workforce, on the playground, in the clubs. The thing is, but it's never said out loud, especially in politics. And she made a mistake of saying it out loud. Okay.
Right, but I don't think it was about that, because there's another point that she made in the tape that a lot of people overlooked, and I think that was the real reason why she got checked.
What was it?
All right, remember she mentioned in the tape about her plans to redistrict LA so that LAX would fall into one of the three districts.
Okay.
All right. Now that's a big moneymaker. Last year, its revenue was $2.7 billion. 2021, just coming out of the pandemic we have here in LA, California, $2.7 billion. And LAX is the only airport in the United States that has the three major airlines as its hub.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the city council has the authority to redistrict every 10 years, and that's up right now. What economic A bomb is going to hit LA specifically in 6 years? The Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever has LAX in its district
Mm-hmm.
is going to look at a major money grab, money maker.
Mm-hmm.
Where's LAX right now? In District 15. I'm sorry, in District 11.
Okay.
Whose district is that? The father for the young boy that they were making fun of.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
And when Biden came to town, he came to a fundraiser. $5,000 a ticket, $50,000 just for a photo op. Where's that fundraiser held? In Brentwood, in District 11.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the downtown mafia, not mafia, downtown folks trying to get more power.
Right. And
Yep.
it's just this whole race thing is really used as a, like the old shell game or the old 3-card Monte game. Oh, keep your attention here. Well, I really don't want you to focus on what's going on. I'm doing to you over here, over there.
Right.
That kind of thing. Because when was the last time, seriously, you gentlemen are from LA, you know, I moved here in 99.
Yeah.
When was the last time the media, the local media in LA gave such concern about the attention to a black boy's feelings? Especially during the crime, the crack epidemic, the crack, all that in the 80s.
I would say the last time it was right before and right after the Rodney King riots. That's the last
okay.
time. But yeah, the thing is that I was, because the tape was actually held on to for more than a year, so I knew there's more to it than just what she said. But the thing is, what she said, if they just talked about District 11, that would have never gone anywhere. But the thing is that what she got caught saying out loud, okay, yeah, that's a killer. That's a killer. And it has more effect than just Los Angeles. It has effect statewide, because it's something that everybody in California kind of knows, but it's never said out loud, because we're all supposed to be on the same page. And she made a faux pas, is what it is. Same, no different than Kanye or Kyrie. Okay, same. There's some things that can't be said out loud, and she paid the price for it. And they, rightfully so, they seized upon it.
Yeah,
that's the way politics works. Yeah,
right. I have more to discuss about it maybe at a further show or broadcast you gentlemen have. But I'll that's my 2 cents I put out there, and I'll get off so that everybody else can have their turn.
You can always email me or send me a tweet, or Dr. Johnson email a tweet. We can actually talk about it further. Since I'm in LA, I'll probably be the one to actually investigate it. So yeah, we can actually do something.
Right. As a matter of fact, Professor T, could you you have my information? Could you send me the doc's email address? I mean, Master Beach's email.
I can. I don't mind. I'll put it in the chat.
Really?
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you,
Gavin. Peace.
Okay. Good night.
Let's go ahead and so we're gonna make these a little more concise, because we only have another about 15 minutes before we're gonna need to go. Duke Hecht, are you there?
What's up? I can hear you. This is just Duke CT, and I've been watching both you, BGS, and Dr. Johnson for quite a while, and I have to say that I am very impressed about how the research, all the things, your opinions and such, and looking what the election that has happened and everything. It shows once again that these there's this schism with Black men and Black women, and it's sad, but it seems like most of the Black women are just like, they see like, okay, we can get power, and if they it's a Democratic establishment, mostly is that if they have a scapegoat, and it just seems like more often than not they seem to have the Black man. It's always the Black man as the evil scapegoat.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's it. That if you read Man Not, Dr. Curry's work,
I read that, and
we're a scapegoat for the whole nation. It's not just them, but
yeah.
The whole
and
nation.
Meanwhile, you have like Latinos like voting, record number of Republicans and all this other stuff. They're not talking about that, and they're trying so hard to butter them up, and it's just I honestly think that's they're not going to butter them. I think they're going, and they're going to pretty much have, in a political sense, it's going to have to be a huge. I mean, they probably, the best solution for Dems right now is probably a huge mea culpa and try to get back to the black men and not having them doing these stupid dancing or bucking to votes or whatever, actually get like tangibles.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked by that stuff. It's like all they to do is just bring up clowns and say, well, you know, that's all you have. I think Malcolm X talked about this too. Like, you know, they came in and say, what these black use? They're kinging actors, comedians, all these other stuff. And I'm like, you know, they don't treat black people with respect. And it's still the same thing. You still see the comedians and you know, all this stuff. Now it's just YouTubers and TikTokers.
It's one thing if it's white people and others, right, that see us that way. But when your own women do it to you, that's what what's painful. That's what's painful.
Yeah. All right, man. Keep up the great work. And I mean, peace, and hopefully see y'all later. Peace.
All right. Take it easy, Duke. Thank you. Let's go ahead and welcome up LaSalle. LaSalle Reactions. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I appreciate it. Been a long time seeing y'all from the rafters, so it's a pleasure to be, you know, courtside, spit my opinion out. I'm a little bit younger, 29 years old, so my introduction to politics is kind of a whirlwind. My first vote experience was with Obama. Had no clue why I voted for him.
He's black. He's black.
Yeah, he's black. He know how to play basketball. He had waves. That's it. I had no clue. No clue what I was doing.
It wouldn't have made any difference whether you elected one or the other, basically. And I told this to a friend of mine. She said, if I had to buy the car, I want to at least pick the color. So,
damn.
I did seriously. I know exactly who Obama was before I actually voted for him. So I had no illusions.
See, me, I was younger. I was like 18, 19. So I didn't have any experience. And I wasn't even told to have any experience. It was just, hey, this is who we're voting for. When you go in there, you gonna make a left, you press that button, press this specific button, they're gonna give you a sticker, we're out. So my whole idea when it comes to voting has definitely been jaded, especially with this situation. I live in Atlanta, so you know I'm very familiar with Miss Abrams. So it's weird having this conversation because I know Dr. Johnson alluded to the conversation. He alluded to the question saying, what is the difference between who gets voted for, what happens, what is the difference for the daily life of a black man? And me, even though I haven't had a lot of years in this world, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I don't think that anything really is going to change. So I don't necessarily want to be one of those guys that, oh, don't vote. If you want to vote, vote. But I know from my experience in my life, I've always been pressured and been guilt tripped that people died for my right to vote, but they never died for my right to vote who I wanted to vote for.
Right. Okay, that's true. Okay. There's a lot of truth there.
But that's it, man. I really appreciate the conversation. Appreciate both of y'all. Thank y'all.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate you coming up.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me go ahead and welcome Jared in here to drop a word. Jared, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. T. Hasan. Thanks, BGS, for having me, man. I'm here in the Detroit area. One of the big ballot initiatives here was Proposal 3, which was the right to include abortion as a Michigan State constitutional right.
Okay.
And I was just talking to my wife. I was just like, it's crazy how a few years back, some students filed a class action lawsuit against the state when the state took over the Detroit public schools for several years, and they say, look, the conditions that when you took over the one of the largest school districts in Michigan, let alone in the country, we didn't get literacy, and so we believe that the state should be on the hook for setting up the school districts to where we didn't learn, we couldn't be literate, and it came down through the Michigan State court that you had no right to literacy.
Whoa.
Wow. There was no right to literacy. That the state is not obligated to be able to teach reading, what have you. Now, just oppose that to, 9 times out of 10, the right to an abortion is going to be part of the state constitution. Juxtapose that. A woman has the right to snatch a baby out of her butt, but you know, we don't have the right to educate black children.
Wow.
We don't have a right to clean water.
Wow.
It's you know, and then they wonder why black men are leaving the Democratic Party, why black men are not, you know, going along with the shenanigans.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I voted down ballot. You know what I'm saying? I voted, you know, I skipped the governor's race. I skipped many other state attorney race. The state attorney that's the incumbent right now is a lesbian female. Somehow she, you know, the Republican attorney who actually the Republican AG that was prior to her actually brought a case against the state for what happened in Flint, and somehow on her watch, the charges were dropped.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the Democratic Party has failed us in so many different so many different ways, and I'll just leave it at that, man. You know. And thank you for having me up.
I am so proud of our brothers, man, for getting politically active and knowledgeable, because when I first came to this space, that wasn't the case. But the thing is, you guys actually taking this stuff seriously. No matter whether I agree or disagree with you, I told this to Doc, they're actually paying attention, and that's what's important.
No, I appreciate you, Jared. I'm going to take Jared down. But yeah, no, I see. My thing is that, look, my space is not about me telling black men how to vote. The way I've conceptualized this, I just wanted to help develop the vocabulary so black men could articulate their concerns, even if I don't particularly agree on a given concern or not, or given political direction or a candidate or not. That's not what I perceive my purpose to be. My purpose here is to help brothers articulate the concerns. And if we can get on the same page, at least to a degree where we can move the needle, that's great. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, being able to articulate the issue is to me the important factor, because I think that's the thing. We've been given a language, and I mean this on a number of levels. We've been given a language that doesn't really suit us, and we can't explain it. I've been talking about this, especially in regard to gender. We've been encouraged to use a feminist language to explain ourselves, and if we can't use it, we're virtually unheard. So, you know, that's why I advocate for the works of Tommy Curry, the works of Dr. Ron Neal, the works of Green Gorilla, the works of BGS IBMOR. We got it. We can create the language we need, and that's really what I'm trying to do. So I'm not trying to say vote for this candidate, that candidate. I'm trying to say, here's the vocabulary, learn it, use it. Here are the policies that other black men advocate for. Articulate it, share your concerns, add to it. You know, that's the way I frame this. So
yeah, and I want mommy to be part of the Urban Dictionary, you know, for 2023.
Let me go ahead and welcome They Live.
I know you can't take me nowhere.
They Live. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
What's
going
up,
on,
Mike?
Jordan?
What's up, Mike?
Much, man.
That's
Look, I just wanted to come up here.
Icon, by the way. I'm loving that. But go ahead.
Absolutely. Like I said before, I wanted to come here and just say thank you guys for being here, especially BGS. And you, Dr. T, and even Charles. I formulated a plan for my son's life based off the men in this space, his experiences, knowledge, and insight. You know, my son wanted to play competitive sports, still does, but realizes that he doesn't know if he wants to go to college right after high school. And I said, we can do the Faulkner Initiative.
Okay.
I was on the phone call with him last night with my dad. My dad said, yeah, that's a great plan. He said, I made a mistake. I should have made your daddy and him go into it. Right. You know, it was such a beautiful conversation to see all three of us have, right? Three generations. And it was a lot of this dedicated to this space that unknowingly my father had the same sentiments that the men of the space have, right? But unknowingly, he didn't know that this was even a real space to be even had and heard. So like BGS said earlier about the ground being toiled, that's what this place did. It gave men the courage to get their voice and to speak. And to actually, I don't like the phrase speak truth to power. We just speak the truth because we are power. And that's what we're recognizing right now. Black men are a powerful force in this country, and we are speaking the truth. And when it comes to sons, when it comes to families, when it comes to what we want for our future, nothing that we don't offer and ask for doesn't bless other people inadvertently, right? So, and I just really appreciate you guys for having this space. And I just got one question for you guys before I hop out of here. And then I just want to keep this nice and sweet. I just want to know which one of you Negroes want to hit that lottery. That's all I want to know. Which one of y'all became a billionaire? That's all I want to know.
You know what? If I hit, I said, because I'm in LA County, I said if I hit,
I know you are.
I'm rename myself Slumdog Millionaire. Okay?
Oh wow!
Look at Dr. T better come out with a big old chain and everything.
If I get that, Dr. T's retired. Okay.
Absolutely, all you guys are retired. I appreciate you, man. Like I said, man, I appreciate you, Dr. T, for leading an example. My son and I started doing what you did, which is doing a little bit more research on filming films. My son and I watched that movie on We Were Soldiers.
Okay.
Normally he kind of falls asleep on that, when we watch movies. But this one, he was wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, and he was just like, man.
Yeah.
And I said, you see how advanced weaponry has to be to take out a man? That's how powerful we are.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? I said, that's how powerful we are. I said, and on top of that, I said, you see when that guy dropped that napalm and he made a mistake and it cost lives? He said, yeah. I said, that's black men every day.
Yeah.
We make decisions. It might cost you your life.
That's right.
So I told him, I said, look, I said, there might be a war coming up. I said, but let me tell you something. I said, I know that I made you into the man that I think you should be and will be to carry on my family name. And if something in the process happens to you, I can live with that because I know I made you a man. I know you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be a man. And that's, to me, ultimately what it's about. You should peep me and you should have a long life. And I want you to have a long life. I said, but to have this plan written out that Charles Faulkner and Cerulean Gray came up with years ago, to be able to see all these benefits and to see my own father say, tonight, he said, I didn't even know when I was in the military, you could take classes and the military pay for them. And I said, yeah, Dad, they don't tell us this stuff. They keep that shit to themselves. Right. They'll let brothers come in that military and not know nothing if you don't ask and you don't read anything. And he said, absolutely. Yeah. So I tell most brothers right now, get these boys in college, get them an opportunity to get out of this country some kind of way, with a degree, with a certificate, with the military service, or with a passport. I don't care. You guys, you can do customer service work and live overseas, if that's what it comes down to. Like I said before, and this is my last point to hop off. I think what you had said, I think the reason why we have a big shift now is because BGS, when y'all had talked about those feminist books where the feminists said they messed up, I think they messed up way more than they actually realized. In my personal opinion, I'm just using my personal opinion. I think they know they messed up because these boys have got a taste of comfort.
Yes.
They don't want to do nothing.
That's what Reeves was saying, that they've overdone it.
Yeah, they've overdone it. And I don't think you can let me see here. You wake up, you play video games, you got food at their beck and call. You don't have to worry about any kind of threats. You don't have to worry about any kind of physicality. You got P-Hub. You pretty much got every sedative thing available to you at your beck and call. These boys ain't gonna do nothing. And I think they realized they had messed up before they realized.
And this is global. Because,
and it's global.
Having a woman, having a family, having that kind of stuff, we're taught that, and there's a lot of social pressure to actually push you into that. And what happens when you don't teach the boys that, don't put social pressure on them, and they can do whatever they want. Okay, water will seek its own level of resistance, and that's what's happening.
Absolutely. And like I said, for us as black men, it's time for us to, like I said, recognize and start speaking the truth. So thank you guys. Thank you so much, man. Like I said, I always have love. I have love and endurement for y'all, and so much honor that y'all gave y'all life to us as black men. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's much appreciated, man.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, brother. Yeah, shout out to They Live, and just he reminded me of something I've been saying for years, man. I use movies to spark different types of conversations with my son, and you'd be surprised the kind of stuff that will spark his attention, his questions, and the discussion that can come about. So we watched Bicentennial Man the other night with Robert Williams.
Right.
Turned into a long discussion. So it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, it'll take you in a million different directions. And it's another opportunity to impart your values, to let him know about family history, to talk about different ideas while he's being entertained, and it's really kind of sparking him. And these kind of things come back later. You'll find that the lessons that you really want to impart, he'll remember years later, because of a discussion you might not even remember, but you kind of the films kind of help make that link even smoother. But yeah, so I wanted to just shout him out for that. But much appreciation, brother. They Live. We got 3 more we're gonna bring in. I'm trying to keep it concise. We're bringing in KT. KT, can you hear us?
Yes, Dr.
Oh, you there?
You there?
Your mic is okay? I think we lost his mic.
KT, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, good. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you for bringing aboard this platform to contribute to the conversation tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming. Welcome. He's always dropping me information on Marvel, so shout out.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I implore everyone within the sound of my voice that's listening to tonight's live stream, please vote with your wallets this weekend and for the next several weekends while it's out. Do not go see Wakanda Forever. Notice how I entitled it, because you look at the graphic, there's more emphasis on Wakanda Forever than there is Black Panther, but we've already been there and talked about that. I'll leave it at that.
So we ain't going to, we're not walking into Paw Paw's house without Paw Paw, huh?
Oh no. And just to add to that, BGS, when it comes to my own kids, even my kids have adamantly said they don't want to see that movie. My kids are 14 and 7 respectively, a boy and a girl. My kids have told me that, especially my son, because I got my son all the Marvel Epic collections of the original Black Panther stories, so he's a Black Panther aficionado when it comes to T'Challa specifically. Yeah, he even adamantly said he doesn't want to see it. Not even on Disney Plus.
I don't particularly like what even though I understand why they did it, I don't like what they did to the Namor character. Completely changing his whole backstory. I wasn't pleased with that. So even that.
Well, give us your thoughts on this, because we only got a couple people left. We're going to kind of transition out, but I want to hear what you want to contribute on this. So give us your thoughts on tonight's discussion, good brother.
What I would like to humbly encourage my fellow Black men to do is stop waiting for the next man to be the man to make the changes that we need for our humanity to be recognized within the political realm and overall society realm. Become that next man. Don't be afraid to go. Matter of fact, I'll mention what Kyrie Irving said in one of his statements, where he was asked a question and he responded with, if you put it in the book, Black men won't go look there. Don't be afraid to go dive in those books, get the knowledge, and converse with someone else who's just as knowledgeable as the writer of that book, to where then you can start applying that knowledge within your community to make the changes necessary for us to grow as a people, and especially for us Black men to be recognized as human beings, just like everyone else is across the world. That's what needs to happen. I can understand why people are intimidated, because it seems like it's such a daunting task. I was there once, but now because I listened to Dr. Johnson over the last few years, and I've taken the things he said along with other content creators, applied it to my own life. Dr. Johnson knows what I'm talking about specifically with me. I'm currently in a battle where I'm seemingly going to win against Title 4D in appellate court and in my child support accounts, all because I took the time to go get in the books, get the knowledge, put it on paper, and take the fight right to them. And again, that's what I want to say is, Black men, stop being sitting there on the sidelines and waiting for that next man to be your voice. Be your own voice. Don't be afraid to go get those books. Take the time, whatever time you need to go read, and then speak.
Yes. In other words, stop being taught and become the teacher.
Yes. Be your own man. Build yourself and make yourself. That's what life's about. You got to
Mm-hmm.
create yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, thanks a lot, brother KT. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, bro. Let's go ahead and welcome Ian. Shout out to Ian.
What up, Ian?
What's good, man?
What's good, BGS? How you doing, Dr. T?
On your left, Ian.
I'm glad you're there too. We need you, bro. We need you.
What's the word, man? Drop us something on this.
Man, I mean, the reality is that what we're seeing is the unraveling of the Black feminist political machine. Their agenda is always to put white supremacy as kind of a cover for their insecurities. Because essentially, what we're looking at is that Black women do not necessarily have an end goal. What they want to do is keep moving the pieces around so they can continue to feel comfortable in an environment where they're trying to exercise their hypergamous nature.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, what we're looking at, because you have Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is, she has her white girlfriend or whatever. What we're looking at essentially is that their mating and dating is primary to their politics, and and so essentially, anytime they're talking about white supremacy, it's really a cover for the fact is that why don't white men find us attractive? Why are Black men not marrying us? And so what Black men are looking at like, yo, this is not enough for us to give our life so you can have your sexual mating.
Yeah. No man wants to be thought of as second best. You marrying us because there's a default rather than a preference.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. And so essentially everything that they're doing in politics, that's why when the abortion ruling came down, they were acting as if somehow Western civilization was about to come to a halt, because they funnel everything through their sexual agenda, everything, and Black men are saying no longer are we going to be used, to further your sexual agenda. We want to actually have some kind of agenda that's going to move us forward out of the muck and mire that we're in. So that again, that's why they are pushing this LGBT agenda. That's why everything they're doing with regard to sex, because that's really all they want is to be sexually desired, and they want us to play a part in that.
Yeah, it's part of it. That's a big part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna have to transition, good brother. Anything you want to say to close out?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm proud of the brothers, because the brothers are waking up. What I've heard on the stage thus far, as far as brothers being aware of the games, the political games that are being played on them, and they're being used as pawns and tools. So I'm really happy about that. And and Stacey, she lost essentially, because she didn't do the work that was necessary to actually bring in the Black men who, especially here in Atlanta, are needing some help, especially when the Black women are getting it. So I'm proud of the brothers that they're exercising their political options as well as their sexual ones.
All right.
Appreciate
you, man.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right. Appreciate you.
Okay, the last one up for tonight is the infamous name.
The ninja is last, huh?
Yeah, he closed out the show with Green Gorilla earlier today. Give us a word on this. What are your thoughts, good brother?
Definitely glad to be up here to the chat and the folks on the panel. But man, all I got to say is we really broke this down when we had that conversation about political Mandalorianism. We're seeing the end results of it. At the end of the day, you take a look at what's happening now with this election with Stacey. I think they're calling it now. Kemp has it, and I really want to make this a big point. He had 53% and she had 45. It's a difference of almost 300K. Well, really over 300K. We know who's going to be blamed for this. And it reminds me once again of the conversation that was held on with Malcolm X's speech, Ballot or Bullet. And he really breaks down how we are literally the swing vote in the profit margin. And as we observe with Ice Cube in this idea of us being in this flat blackness as demonstrated by that panel, because Black women want to identify themselves as a separate socio-political entity. So too do Black men have the ability to. And for the first time, we're getting an opportunity to have these conversations outside of the context of just the barbershop or under some sort of gynocratic supervision. And that's critical, because at the end of the day, in this democratic republic system, because that's what we're in a democratic republic, we vote to elect representatives. That small oligarchy exists, but they're an oligarchy that serves the interest of the people. And even though we've got this socio-political issue of identification with this word citizen as it pertains to America, due to the way in which this was all laid out, and we covered that on the Green Gorilla channel, you are still entitled to that representation. You have a orientation. They are there to serve you. As much as they want to warp this and distort this into a technocracy, we still have influence. You don't need to speak truth to power. You need to be the power that is spoken to. And that's what your vote represents. So with that, fan, that's really all I got to say on this. Get prepared for the salt. We're going to hear it all year next year.
Oh, we give the more that, like you said, the more they speak our name, guess what? The more the message
advertisement.
Free
Free advertisement.
Real talk. The worst thing you can be is ignored.
Nameless, you want to tell people about your channel? You want to tell them about any of your upcoming work that they can come check out?
I know you're going to be talking about this. Come on now.
Well, I've got a video I did last year, maybe it's 2 years now, about this topic in general. It's called How We Got Here. I'll put a link in the back chat for you guys. Definitely subscribe if you like some of the content that you see with regards to that. I cover quite a few things. I've been getting into the hive theory that I've been breaking down, and really get into a lot of futurist topics, really looking ahead at how this fourth industrial wave is really going to disproportionately affect us, but more importantly, what it means for the continent in the future and those in the diaspora, particularly as it pertains to populations, what that means for economy, and how Africa is in a unique position right now to explode in population. And this is really an excellent timing for us to have taken our knowledge and understanding as being the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, for this model that's being rolled out globally, and being able to be important assets with your socio-political investment and your economic investments going into the future. So this is where my head is at. I'm looking at issues that address us now, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I don't mean just on religious dogma, just on being able to cope with the challenges the world is going to be facing, really humanity is going to be facing. When all your needs are generally met, how do you find purpose as a human being? And what does that mean for you as an individual who's in part of the adosocial complex with the Y chromosome? You know, we are in a unique position for that. There are things to consider.
Okay. Well, y'all check out Nameless Protagonist's channel. Also check out the last video he was on the Green Gorilla channel, titled The War on Drugs with Sanddog and Nameless Protagonist. Shout out to Sanddog. Shout out to Green Gorilla. Y'all go check that discussion out and support the channel. And
I think that discussion was important also, just because of the points we make. I really want to highlight that because it's important due to a lot of the topics that are brought up and levied against us, and what you're bringing up, Dr. T, with this 15-point agenda. For the detractors, once again, it is a living document. Like you said, it is in the brainstorming phase, and it's already making this many moves. And you need to understand, organized truth beats disorganized falsity 100 times over again. And we've got the data, statistics, and all we need is the means of communication, and we're providing it now. Participate. If you don't agree with it, explain why. It assists, it helps. There's always a refinement process.
Right. And to Nameless directly, this is the way.
This is the way.
All right, good brother. Appreciate
Thanks for having me up, man.
All right, man. BGS, man, close us out, man. Any closing thoughts about all of this?
Well, all I can say is we in the house, baby. You know, didn't think we'd get here. I thought it'd be another 5-10 years before we got here, but we got here. You know, thanks to a lot of good brothers, like a lot of the good PhDs that give us the the push, the social cover because without that PhD in front of behind that name, behind that agenda, it wouldn't get as near as much attention. So shout out to Dr. T for actually taking this on. You know, I always tell them that PhD at the end means a lot in this society. It means a lot. And for him to actually take it on and care enough about us to actually take this on, man, says a lot for him and the heart that he has and the burden that he has to carry. This is a burden for him, you know, to carry. So the thing is for him to do it and have the courage to actually go through this kind of process, you know, he can't be thanked enough. Well, what I'm saying is that we're here, okay. What we wanted this space, as we call it, to do is affect change, and we're seeing change in front of you. So basically, you know, stop detracting the space. I hear a lot of detractors saying, "What is the space for? It's not worth anything. It's not doing anything." Okay, you're looking at it. You're looking right at it. Your women are back at the table. Okay, you guys are waking up. Your message is spreading, and now you're on the verge of maybe, just maybe, getting a political voice. Okay, this is as much as you can ask for any movement like this. But anyway,
no, I appreciate it, man, and I appreciate you coming up tonight. Thank you, bro.
Oh, you know, I'm at your service, sir.
All right, good, brother. I'll close it out here, but thanks a lot, man.
All right.
Oh, sorry about that. What were you saying?
No, I was gonna say, all right, Doc.
All right, all right, people. Look, appreciate y'all coming through tonight. I gotta finish these short ribs and red beans for my son. Get this cornbread out the oven. But look here, this is the work we're here to do. This is what we're trying to build. It is in process. I want you guys to know you're being listened to, even if they're not calling your names out directly. A lot of that is because they're afraid of what you might say, what you might demand, what impact you might further have if you're identified outright, right? But at the end of the day, we're pushing and we're in it, and the needle is starting to move, right? So I want us to continue to do that. Support these channels you regularly listen to on social media, most particularly Black men-led channels in the manosphere. Support them, purchase the books, you know, support the brothers who are doing this work so we can continue to push it further, because this is what we need to do. So shout out to all of y'all. I wish y'all a good night. Let me see. Shout out to Jabanga. I might have mispronounced that. I apologize, Jabanga. Great conversations as always, brothers. He says, really appreciate y'all. Nameless just gained another subscriber. That's what's up. Shout out to Rob Black. Little celebratory cheers. Great job, y'all. Shout out to y'all. So that's what's up. But as I said, y'all have a good night. See y'all soon. Peace.